Buymageddon is over, my friends. I'm Jen Piacenti at Sports Illustrated, and with that Buymageddon being over, it means we get all our stud wide receivers back in play, and that makes start-sit decisions even more difficult. So for this, we have to bring in Sports Illustrated's senior fantasy analyst, the original start-sit guru, Michael Fabiano. Fabs, I actually do have to make quite a few tough decisions this week. So who is an absolute must-start, set it, and forget it?
Yeah, I know, right? We go from play whoever we can, we need a warm body, to like, now I'm trying to figure out who to play. I'm certainly playing Courtland Sutton. I know Jerry Jeudy's coming back. I would play him too. Really good matchup against the football team, this week. And Sutton's been great, scoring 23-plus fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. Washington's defense has allowed 7 touchdowns and the second most fantasy points per game to receivers lined out wide. So Courtland Sutton is a very strong start. And Michael Pippen Jr., he's been sort of an unsung hero, right? Putting up very good numbers, not great numbers, but pretty good numbers. He has given you 20-plus fantasy points in 3 of 6 games, including 2 of his last 3. This week, he's got the Titans, right? They've given up 10 touchdowns and the most fantasy points per game to wide receivers. So Michael Pittman Jr. is a very solid wide receiver 2 or flex this week in that AFC South showdown.
And Fabs, I really like that you added these guys to your list because I think that they're guys that people will have a lot of questions about. And they're Emmanuel Sanders and Devonta Smith, both in really good positions this weekend. Okay, now, who are we definitely going to sit? Looks like you got a couple of veterans here on the list.
Yeah, and they both have huge names, but their numbers stink, right? So, we're 7 weeks into the fantasy football season, guys. So just because Julio Jones is Julio Jones doesn't mean you have to play him, all right? I mean, look at the numbers. He's failed to score more than 8.9 fantasy points in all but 1 game. Every week, he's a risk to not finish because of the hamstring problems he has. And the last time he played the Colts, which was back in week 3, 7.7 fantasy points. I get it. It's Julio Jones. It's not the same wide receiver from Atlanta, I promise you. Same thing with Allen Robinson, and God bless him because he is a very talented wide receiver. The Bears' offense is awful right now. Justin Fields looks like a deer in the headlights. The offensive line is absolutely terrible, and Robinson's averaging 7.7 fantasy points per game. Again, this is 7 weeks of data. He is not even in the top 60 at wide receiver. So why are we starting him at this point? In fact, Jen, if you're in a smaller fantasy league and you decide to drop Allen Robinson, I'd have no problem with that.
I honestly can't believe we're at the point here in week 8 where the only Chicago Bear we really feel comfortable starting is Khalil Herbert.
That's it.
Wow. Okay, you're also sitting OBJ and Jacoby Myers versus the Chargers. Guys, this is a really tough week, really tough decisions. Not only should you check out Fab's article at si.com/fantasy, you should also join us Sunday morning for our start sit at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will help you navigate this. Every position, quarterback, wide receiver, running back, tight end, kicker, and even defense.